Just do it. Just do it. I'm still paying off student loans. That's okay. Doesn't bother me. Um,
Me too.
Lots of people are still paying. Lots of people our age are still paying off student loans. Anybody who changes careers to that degree is going to have a student loan, unless they're independently wealthy, in which case, no, they don't. But most people are going to, most people who go back to school are going to do it on borrowed money. And just do it. It's okay, Follow where your dream takes you and everything will fall into place. It really will. It might not feel it at the time, but, just, put it out there to the universe. The universe actually does work. I know that sounds pretty hooey, but the universe actually does work. And what you put out there comes back to you. So put it out there.
Hello.
Hello.
Welcome back. This is Andrea Parc.
And Alexa Dumitru.
And welcome to Alive Again podcast, where attorneys and other professionals share real life stories of universal challenges that shaped their journeys. Today, we have with us a fantastic attorney and a woman that is incredibly wise and has a long and interesting career path. Nancy Delain. She is a intellectual property and business law attorney, and I welcome you. Thank you so much for being here with us today, and I welcome you to share with us your wisdom and how you got to be an attorney.
Thank you, Andrea. I'm going to try and live up to that. How I got to be an attorney? Well, that's kind of a long and complicated thing. Okay. I started off, my first notion of being a lawyer came when I was about 3 years old. And my dad was a student. He was a PhD student in chemistry. And these students worked their butts off. I mean, they just worked harder than any law student I have ever known has ever worked. And every Sunday night, the entire student PhD class of the Department of Chemistry would take 1 hour off, and they would come to our house because we were the people who had the television set. Okay, and they would sit down. They would very quick. My mother would give them chips and dip or whatever, and they would sit there and they would watch Perry Mason for 1 hour. We all know how much Perry Mason actually has to do with being a lawyer, kind of Zippo, but it looked like it would be fun to go rescuing all these people, And so I thought to myself, gee, if lawyers can do that, then I want to do that at 3 years old. And then, life happened and life happened and life happened and life happened. Law school kind of stayed in the back of my mind while I went off and lifeguarded for a while, and then I turned into a lab rat for a while, and then I turned into a technical writer for many years. I have a master's degree in tech writing and spent 20 years doing that. And then as it was still there, it was still there, it was still there, it was still there. And then part of my gig as a tech writer was I was the acquisitions editor for a publisher of postgraduate level scientific books and monographs down in New York City, as a matter of fact. They were in the Flatiron Building. And this was in the early 80s, and floppy disks were actually floppy.
Yeah.
Bend them. And they had huge amount, absolutely enormous, 640K. You would never use all that memory. Never, never, never in a million years would anybody use all that. But what 640K could not hold was encryption. So we wanted to publish a book. I was the computer science editor. We wanted to publish a book that had a software component to it. And the powers that be kind of squinched up and said, is this a copyright or is this patent? Copyright? So, because they knew copyright, they're publishers.
Yeah.
So we hired the copyright lawyer, and she was a lovely lady. And it was up to me as the computer science editor to work with her to come up with the killer copyright statement so that nobody would put their, our disk into drive A and their empty disk into drive B and write copy A : B : and the computer would do just that. Okay. We just didn't want that to happen. So we came up with a killer copyright statement. It was fun. I had a good time. I learned a lot. And This was in the early 1980s, okay? And I saw the check we wrote her, and it had 5 figures in it. And I thought to myself, geez, I want this. So that, and then life happened, and life happened, and life happened, and life happened, and life happened. And I didn't go to law school, and didn't go to law school, and didn't go to law school, kept working as a tech writer. And finally, as I was divorcing my daughter's father, I was thinking to myself, it's now or never. I was in my early 40s at the time, and it was now or never. I was either going to go to law school or not go to law school. So I took the LSAT and went to law school. So here we are, 20 years later, 21 years later.
But was it the trigger, that check that you saw with multiple zeros?
That's the thing I remember. The trigger to go to law school, the check had happened many years before. I went to law school. I started law school in 1999, and the check happened in the early 1980s. So there was a period of time between the check and law school, but it had just always been there. It had just always been something I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So finally I said, it's now or never.
Yeah.
So here we are.
So it wasn't the money.
It wasn't the money. Well, the money had something to do with it, but
Yeah.
there's a different. It was more the wanting to help people in a different way than I was helping them.
Right,
Okay.
and I feel like intellectual property law is such a complex and kind of, in a sense, open-ended. And it's really like problem solving and trying to work around the intricate little loopholes,
Yeah.
which I think is really something noble about it, because how am I supposed to know what's intellectual property? Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Intellectual property law is well, it depends on which area. You're thinking specifically patent law with working around all the little loopholes.
Yeah.
Okay. And yes, that is indeed working around a lot of little it's more intricate work than something like trademarks or copyrights.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in the I don't litigate, so I don't get into the intricacies of confusion in the marketplace and any of that stuff, except to do the search where, I clearly get into confusion in the marketplace there. And I've gotten pretty good at explaining to clients, no, you need to find another name. Here's why. And it's usually people who have come up with something like, they're trying to sell a car and their last name is Ford and they want to name the company after themselves. Okay. You can't do that. It's already been done.
Yeah. So what would you tell a person? Because you've been through, 3 careers until you got to law school. What piece of wisdom would you give to a person that has law school the back of their mind and they're in their early 40s and they don't know what to do?
Just do it. Just do it. I'm still paying off student loans. That's okay. Doesn't bother me.
Me too.
Lots of people are still paying. Lots of people our age are still paying off student loans. Anybody who changes careers to that degree is going to have a student loan, unless they're independently wealthy, in which case, no, they don't. But most people are going to, most people who go back to school are going to do it on borrowed money. And just do it. It's okay, follow where your dream takes you and everything will fall into place. It really will. It might not feel it at the time, but, just, put it out there to the universe. The universe actually does work. I know that sounds pretty hooey, but the universe actually does work. And what you put out there comes back to you. So put it out there. Let the universe,
Yeah.
We are under the same belief system.
Yeah. That's true.
Yeah.
And do you work alone or do you have a law firm or?
I work alone and I like it that way. If I have more than I can handle, then I'll parcel out to, I'll parcel out stuff. Obviously I'm not an artist. I parcel out patent drawings. Patent artists do those. But I work by myself. I've tried it with a partner and that didn't work. And I've never actually had an employee. As I say, most of the stuff that I need done can be done by VAs who have their own businesses or by patent artists who have their own businesses, or it can be done by somebody who is also an independent person working for themselves and doesn't want to be an employee, and that's fine with me. that's great. So
Yeah. Yeah.
So, what does your daughter do, if you don't mind me asking?
my daughter is a technical writer.
Oh, so she followed you.
Yeah, in her own path, she did. She's a technical writer. Right now she's working for the American College of Radiology.
Oh, that's awesome.
She seems to be pretty happy in the path in which she has landed. In her ideal world, she would like to be George W.R. Martin, the guy who wrote Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
And be at that level of support with royalties from books she's written. She's a creative writer at heart. But technical writing is writing. Keyword is writing, and she loves to write. She's always loved to write. So that's what she does.
Does she have law school the back of her mind as well?
No, 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 no. She saw how hard I worked going. She was a preteen.
That's exactly what I did.
She was 9 years old when I started law school, and I have some stories about that too. She was 9 years old when I started law school. I was a newly single parent, and I started law school, and she saw how hard I worked. She saw me staying up late and getting up early and not getting enough sleep, and working my tail feathers off to do well in law school. And I did pretty well in law school. I mean, not straight A's, but not straight F's either, and not straight C's either, for that matter. I graduated in the top 20% of my class, I think it was.
We loved your mug.
Yes.
Yes, every lawyer needs one. Every lawyer needs. I use this with my clients. Okay, and my clients start spouting off about, well, Google says this and my sister says that.
Perfect.
It
Yes.
works.
Yeah, so why we always ask our guests what their children do is because I had that same experience. Everybody would always ask me, as young as I could be, everybody would ask me, what do you want to be when you grow up? Anything but a lawyer.
Anything but a lawyer.
That was my answer. Anything but a lawyer. Because I grew up, my father was also in the courts and he was a translator. So I would go with either one of them all the time to courts and I saw these people's faces. They were all so miserable. And I was like, no, not for me. Thank you, but not for me.
That's true. That is often true of people who spend a lot of time in court. Litigators, you're getting people at the worst part of their lives if they're in litigation. And who wants to do that? I don't litigate. So I get people at the best part of their lives when they've come up with a bright idea and they say, I need to protect this. Wow, I have this really cool idea. I get the really cool ideas, and and business law. I balance. I string one off the other. Intellectual property and business law fit together like that. Especially, I don't do SEC work or anything like that. It's not heavy duty business. It's formations and contracts and stuff like that. But it goes together well. And I also do some bankruptcy because I got into that because in New York we do pro bono work. We have to report our pro bono service, and it's going to be a cold day before I write a pro bono pen. So I put somebody through a Chapter 7 in 20 weeks. It's done. It's complete. I've done my pro bono. I've done my good thing. So I do some bankruptcy work as well.
Yeah. Back when I was practicing law, I tried bankruptcy, but as a sole practitioner, it's so much work. And to me,
that's one of the things I pawn off to VAs who are trained in bankruptcy. I can get somebody to prepare a bankruptcy petition, and I pay them X number of dollars, and X is a fairly small amount. They do the scut work with the client, and extract all the information, get all the documentation. I go around, I sign the paperwork, I meet with the client, but I do the intake and I do the signing, and I obviously go to the meeting of creditors with them. 13, I do all the motion work, but I don't find it overwhelming at all. I really don't. Especially, I can see where it would be overwhelming if you got a big volume of bankruptcies, but I don't do that.
Yeah.
So when you were a writer, was there ever a moment, or when you were a lifeguard or other career paths, was there ever a moment when you said to yourself, I'm not in the right place?
Oh, all the time. All the time. I'm never in the right place.
You still have that sentiment even now?
Yeah, I'm never in the right place. I still don't know what I do want to do when I grow up.
So, how do you mediate that?
I look at what other people do, okay? I look at what the doctors do. I'd love to have been a doctor, okay? But that, I also don't want that lifestyle. I do not want people calling me at 3 o'clock in the morning with, a ruptured appendix. I just don't. Okay, just no. So I know I look at the downside. Yeah, doctors have a lot of money and they drive around in fancy cars and they're the elite of society. Just ask them, they'll tell you. But I don't want that lifestyle. I just really don't. I don't, no. And writers get to express them, creative writers get to express themselves and get to, do all this. But unless you are J.R.R. Unless you J.R.R. Tolkien, or you are George R.R. Martin, or you are J.K. Rowling, or you are Stephen King, there are an awful lot of writers out there who are not those people, and they bring in some money, but most of them have day jobs. So I don't want that lifestyle either, That doesn't say I don't write. I do, but I don't want to make a living doing it. Very often I will go and I will try something out on a volunteer basis. If I really get serious about thinking of changing something, I'll try it out. I'll try it on, see if it fits. And if it seems to fit better than what I'm currently doing, then yeah, I'll go for it. If it doesn't, it usually doesn't, which is why I'm a lawyer 21 years later. And usually it doesn't, so I keep doing what I do. And going from tech writing into legal work, especially patent work, that's just a natural transition. I mean, I'm still a writer,
Yeah. So you very well know what you don't want
Mhm.
and what you don't like.
Mhm.
I wanted to ask you why intellectual property, but it makes sense. So the
Well,
question would
intellectual
not.
property is an interesting area of law. And I'm dealing with people who are not totally angst ridden. Family law, divorce, no thank you. That's just too much drama. Criminal law, yeah, really no thank you. That's way too much drama. And my hat's off to people who do those things. I can't.
Yeah.
I can't. I get too wrapped up in other people, and it would drive me. I would literally end up in the bedlam. So I needed something that lets the lawyer take a step back a little bit and not be more professional with the clients. So business law and intellectual property just fit the bill, and IP came into being with that copyright lawyer that I worked with back in the 1980s.
Yeah. So I understand that you're having fun practicing IP and business law.
Mhm.
What part, is it any part or portion or type of cases that bring you more happiness or joy doing it?
So the reason I got into bankruptcy was that I really enjoy helping people out. Okay, so if I'm doing a business transaction where I'm helping both people, both my client and then the other party, that just makes my day. I love that. If I'm getting a patent for somebody and I know that this patent is going to end up being, just changing their lives, that makes my day. I love that. If I'm getting a trademark for somebody and I know that this trademark is going to really change their lives, again, I love that. I
And
love
from
that.
other people as well.
Yeah, yeah. It's again, the universe gives, it gives you what you put into it. So, the more I can do to help other people out, the happier I am.
I love that you just made this journey of life something so joyous, and you're kind of this like free spirit changing course and doing things that you really love. I mean, I personally don't see law in this joyous way, and you really made it in something that makes you really happy, and I really admire that.
Yeah, well, not everybody sees law in a joyous way, and that's fine. You do what makes you happy. Life's too short to do anything else. It really
Yeah.
is. I mean, you're too young to know that, but trust me, 68 years go by in a damn fast hurry. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And it's rare to see attorneys with your happy spirit.
Yeah, it's rare to see litigators with my happy spirit. We're all happy as clams.
Yeah.
Litigators, not so much. They spend too much time arguing with people.
Yeah. And what I appreciated was that I met you through a networking group.
Mm-hmm.
So you definitely have time and enjoy networking and talking to people, and you are open to meeting various kinds and types of
Hey, I
people.
never know where the next client's going to come from. No, you have to if you're going to be in business for yourself, especially if you're going to be a business for yourself, you have, I'm actually a painful introvert. Okay, I do not, I'm working right now. Okay, but you, if you're going to go out and be on your own, you have to be able to do the sales thing.
Yeah.
And going out, the only way you can go out and do the sales thing is to go out and meet people. And the only way you can go out and meet people is to, kind of open up and be friendly and smiley with me, I won't say it's an act because it's become second nature, but it started off as an act, that's for sure. So
I'm the same way. I'm so introverted, and I just sit at home all day and work, and I refuse. And my mom always forces me every time something happens. Yes, we're going. There's an event. Yes, we're going. And then I
yeah,
have to sit there and I have to make an outfit for us.
and you have to sit there and put on your smiley face and
Right.
like this podcast, for example. You have to have a conversation, and your mom is actually doing something that's very good for you. She's saying, okay, it's time to get out there, time to put the smiley face on, time to learn to interact with society, time to get the sales type, get the salesies going.
Yeah.
I had parents that didn't do that. My parents both had jobs, so they just did not get me at all, because I haven't had a job since, I think my last job was in 1990. My last job was ended in it ended in the year 2000. It ended, the .com system flopped, and no, it was 2001. I went up there 2001. Okay, so my last job ended in like March 2001. So
Yeah.
and it was a layoff, which my parents interpreted as she got fired. No, I got laid off. They couldn't afford me anymore, and that's fine. I had other things I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And actually, this is funny that former boss and I are still in touch. He went to school after I graduated law school. He went to school to be a paralegal, and man, I would use that guy in a heartbeat, because he is the most detail-oriented human being, and he's, anything he does, I would trust. It's funny how people you meet in one thing keep turning up. So, yeah.
Was there some resistance from your parents in your path of life?
They wanted me to have a job all the way through. I didn't do that. So, yeah, they resisted that. They didn't like that at all. When I first started law school, my father, the college chemistry professor, said, "You can't do that. You're not going to finish." And my response to that was,
Watch me.
so,
Yeah.
so,
Yeah.
so, I got a little offended by that. My response was just,
Yeah.
I didn't say that to him, but
Yeah. Yeah.
But he knew it. He saw it.
oh, you know it.
Yeah. No, it's of course, being able to bring business in for people like us with entrepreneurial spirit that work for ourselves. We can only bring business in with who we are. And for her, as a fashion designer, only by talking to people. If you
Mhm.
sit at your sewing machine and in the studio all day working, you have to basically sell
You'll
what
have
you're
beautiful
doing.
designs and nobody will know about them.
Yeah. Yeah. And if we go
I'm
out to
so
events,
sad about this.
and we're dressed in a certain way, people will
Mhm.
ask, I like your outfit, and she's the designer. So this
Mhm.
is a great way to,
And I have to raise my hand from the corner because I'm usually sitting in the corner.
yeah.
But yeah, having your mom wear your clothes is a great way to advertise yourself, you know? That's great.
Absolutely.
That's great.
Yeah, and now we have social media, obviously, and I do a lot of networking through there. I don't even have to leave my house.
You don't have to leave. You don't even have to talk to people. You can do it on chat.
No, my fingers do it for me.
Yeah.
That's the great part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So now that we're approaching the end, and because the podcast is called Alive Again, I would like to ask you, what activity in your life makes you feel more alive?
What? I'm sorry. Repeat the question for me. I just
What
didn't.
activity
What
in your
activity
life?
most alive? I have animals, and
Mm.
I love to play with my animals. You know that. Sitting down with the kitties in my lap with them purring. I just melt over that. And the dog. There are two dogs. One of them is a 12-year-old black lab, and she is gentle and docile and well trained and well behaved, and she goes to her bed and she comes and says hello, and she doesn't leap all over you, and she's beautifully trained. Okay. And then there's Einstein. Einstein is a 2-year-old Nova Scotia duck tolling retriever. Think Jack Russell Terrier on steroids. And we're working with him. He is the attention grabber in the family, and so it kind of makes me feel good to go and give some love to the lab. Okay, give love to Ebony, because poor little poor Eb, she's sitting over there, just kind of looking with these big green eyes of jealousy as everybody pays all the attention to this springing dog, and she's not getting any attention. She's not getting any love. So I kind of make sure that I give Ebony some love at least once a day. So that brings me joy. What else? Just spending time with family and friends, and playing, watching movies, watching a good TV show, watching you know cooking dinner. My partner and I really love to cook. Both of us do, and we cook well together, which is really scary because usually good cooks don't cook well together.
Yeah.
So we cook well together, and we make really good food. Last night we had homemade pasta and homemade sauce, and it was delicious. Christmas time we had a crown rib, and he makes this sweet potato casserole to die for. Uh, and what did I make? I make a pie. That's actually pretty good. And we managed to coordinate ourselves in the kitchen, which is a really good thing. What else? Just living life. I'm not fond of what you see behind me at the moment. I would much rather have a green instead of white out there. Snow does not give me joy. It used to when I was a kid. It gave me a lot of joy, but now it's just work. So.
Yeah.
It's work, and I have to drive in, and it's sloppy, and it's slippery, and it's no. But
And it's very cold.
yeah, right. Today
Not
it's
only
freaking
the
cold.
snow, it's very, very.
Yes, today it is very cold. It's in the single digits. But and I actually like the cold weather. Traveling gives me joy. We're going to Galapagos in June.
Mm.
That the thought of that is giving me a lot of joy, let me tell you. And just normal life stuff gives me joy.
Simple pleasures.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. This was a great conversation,
Yes.
exactly as I anticipated.
Thank you both.
Thank you, our listeners, for tuning in. If you enjoyed this episode and this conversation, please subscribe and follow us to hear more real life stories of attorneys and other professionals of how their decisions shaped their lives. Thank you so much.
Thank you.